Hello everyone, welcome to today's session. Welcome to ClassBridge Online School. We are going to be having different sessions. We are going to be looking at different chapters as they are aligned in the syllabus for 2025-2027. We are going to be starting with the first chapter. We shall be having different lessons. Today we are going to have our first lesson. So I want to welcome you to ClassBridge Online School. I want to welcome you to today's session. So we are going to be looking at data processing and information. That's the first chapter in the 2025-2027 syllabus. We are going to be looking at the differences between data and information, including identifying that data becomes information through context and meaning. Then later we shall be looking at those different subtopics that are aligned there. So I just want to welcome you to today's session. We are going to be starting with our lesson 1, and we are going to be looking at data processing and information as our first topic. So we live in a world where we rely on data and information. So everything that you're seeing, every business that you're seeing running relies on data and information. For the decision makers to make decisions about maybe the market trends, about how the business is going to run, all those decisions that are supposed to be made in a company are supposed to be based on the data and information that is collected. So it is important that data is accurate. Digital technology helps us to manage the input and transfer of data so that it is fit for the purpose and for its intended audience. So we need to be having data. You want to predict how your business is going to run in the 5 years, you have to base on data, and that data has to be accurate. So for you to make decisions in your company, you need to have data and information. So we are going to look at what data means, what information means. So by definition, data refers to raw numbers, letters, symbols, sounds, or images with no meaning. So you find a number there, you can see a letter there, you can see a symbol there, you can see maybe an image, but it has no meaning. It is just there. It's an image. So you don't know what that image is all about. You don't know anything about it. So it is just there as an image. So an example, we can see these different numbers, maybe 28, 34, 5.77. When you see this number here, you can't tell what that number is. It's just a number. It is just there. So when you look at this P952BR, it's just a combination of numbers and letters. You don't know what it means. So we have this other example here. It's just a combination of, there's a symbol here, then we have some letters there, we have these other numbers there. So we don't know what those numbers are all about. So this is data. Okay, whatever you're seeing here, it is data. It has no meaning. They're just numbers, they're just symbols, and we don't know what those symbols represent. So that is data. Raw numbers, letters, symbols, sounds, or images with no meaning. So you can't use this to make decisions because we don't know what those numbers or the symbols are all about. So when we talk about information, by definition, we can say information refers to processed data with context and meaning. So when data items get context and meaning, they become information. So a person reading the information will then know what it means. Without context, without meaning, you can't call that information. So a person reading the information will then know what it means. Data is given context by identifying what sort of data it is, but still, this does not make it information, but it is a step on the way to it becoming information. So we are going to look at these different examples. So without information getting meaning and context, you can't call it information. So if your data has no meaning, data has no context, that has no, so you can't call that information. It only becomes information if it has a context and meaning. So we are going to look at these different examples. When you look at here, example 1, we have 30. Here we have 30, we have 28, we have 31, then we have 39. So these are just numbers. You're looking at them and you don't know what they mean. So in terms of context, let's say these are temperatures. Okay. Still, the meaning, if someone just says these are temperatures and stops it there. If you say these are temperatures, just someone says these are temperatures and stops it there. Temperatures for what? So we know the meaning is maybe these are temperatures, but now what do they do? Okay, they are temperatures. And so for what? So if someone adds on more information, say recorded in Kampala for the last 4 days. Now we have given it a meaning, you have also given it a context. Temperatures recorded in Kampala for the last 4 days. Okay, temperatures recorded in Kampala for the last 4 days. Then there we can know that these temperatures are for the last 4 days. So we can get to know that the temperatures in a Kampala for the last 4 days have been maybe ranging from 28 to 31. So somebody can use that information to do something with the data that is, with the information that is given. It has been given a context and it has now been given a meaning. So it has been given a context and it has a meaning. So there we can say that that is what? Information. When you look at this example 2, it is just 2000. It's just a number. We don't know what it means. We're just seeing that number there. So when someone gives it a context, say the school admitted 2000 students. Let's say this is we have the meaning here. We have these details that are given that the school admitted 2000 students. We don't know whether it was maybe 2025, it was maybe 2024, it was maybe, we don't know. So we can't use this. Which school? The school admitted 2000 students. Okay, 2000 students. But if we add more information and we say the school is called maybe, let's say Hannah International School, admitted 2000 students in 2025. Okay, so we have put these details so that the administrators or any other person who is interested in this information can use it to make decisions. So now we are saying the school or Hannah International School admitted 2000 students in 2025. So this information can be used by maybe administrators to know how much money they are going to spend on food, how much money they are expecting to collect from these learners. Okay, so that decisions can be made depending on this data or information that has been given. So we can use information to make decisions, but we can't use data to make decisions. So information, data becomes information only when it has been given a meaning and context. Now, where do we get this data? We are going to look at these sources of data. We have what we call direct data, and this refers to data that is collected for a specific purpose or task and is used for that purpose and only that purpose. So you can collect your data and that data has to be used for that specific purpose. that you have collected it for. So data collected from, you can just also call it data collected from the primary source and used for its intended purpose. For example, you can ask people questions in a survey and maybe recording their responses. So you're just collecting data from the primary source. Okay. So we are going to look at the examples of these direct data sources. So these sources that provide the data gatherer with original data. We are going to look at the different examples. So the first one we are going to look at is the questionnaire. And a questionnaire consists of a set of questions, usually on a specific subject or issue. So it can be a mixture of what is called like closed questions, where you have to choose one or more answers from those that are provided, and open-ended questions, where you write in your answers. So questionnaires are easy to distribute, complete, and collect, as most people are familiar with the process. So they can be completed on paper or online. So questionnaires can be like the papers can be submitted, or you can have those questionnaires completed online. So they are ideal for gathering specific opinions, especially when dealing with many respondents. So just design your questions, put them maybe on a paper or you put them online, and the people you're asking will be putting in their answers, or they'll be choosing from those that you have provided if they are closed questions. Then, so questions should be structured to gather the right data, ensure easy analysis, and not overwhelm respondents. So online questionnaires are efficient because they directly input data into the database, saving time on manual entry. So if you are to design, or the best way would be like having an online questionnaire where users or the people getting the information from just choose from those options that you have, or they can input their responses, and those responses are directly captured into the database. Then another source that we are going to look at is the interview. So an interview is a formal meeting. It's a formal meeting between two, or they can be more, where one of them, the interviewer, asks questions, and the other person, the interviewee, answers the questions. Interviews are used to collect data about a topic and can be structured or unstructured. So structured interviews are similar to a questionnaire, where the same questions are asked in the same order for each interviewee and with a choice of answers. But unstructured interviews can be different for each interviewee, particularly as they give them the opportunity to expand on their answers. So you can make them structured, or you can just have them as unstructured. So there is usually no preset list of answers in an unstructured interview. It involves asking respondents questions directly, allowing for follow-up queries to gain more detailed responses. So when you're organizing or you want to collect information using interviews, you can either use the structured way or the unstructured way. So another source that we are going to look at is observation, and this refers to a method of data collection in which the data collectors watch what happens in a given situation. So just go there and observe. So the observer collects data by seeing for themselves what happens, rather than depending on the answers from interviewees or the accuracy of completed questionnaires. So you go there, you observe as you record whatever you want to record. Then another source that we are going to look at is data logging. Data logging means like using a computer and sensors to collect data. So the data is then analyzed, saved, and the results are output, often in a form of graphs or charts. So data logging systems can gather and display data as an event happens, and the data is usually collected over a period of time, either continuously or at a regular interval, in order to observe a particular trend. So you can say, I'm going to record my data, I'm going to use my sensors or the computers to record data for a specific period of time. So it involves recording data from one or more sensors, and the analysis usually requires special software. So data logging is commonly used in scientific experiments, in monitoring systems where there is the need to collect information faster than a human possibly could, in hazardous circumstances such as volcanoes and nuclear reactors, and in cases where accuracy is essential. Okay, so those hazardous circumstances where humans maybe cannot be used from there. So we mostly use the data logging systems to collect this data. Then we use a software, a special software to analyze what you have collected. So examples of the types of information a data logging system can collect include temperatures, sound frequencies, light intensities, electrical currents, and pressure. So basically those are the different examples of direct data sources. In our next lesson, we are going to continue from there. Thank you for watching.